Hey there everyone, welcome to a quick look at the newest design we have up. This one's called Painted. So it's kind of like this retro painted style kind of look to this design. So there are a lot of sport options in this one, but I thought we would just take a quick overlook at the layer options in here just to give an idea for what exists in this in case it's one you're interested in. So starting at the top, we have our color grading layers. These are grouped, so we can expand this group. You can see there's a couple different layers in here that are affecting the overall color grade to give it kind of that polished look at the end. Again, if you want to adjust these, feel free to change the opacity sliders on these to create a little bit more of a custom look if needed. Or you could always just click the eyeball and turn opacity on and off if needed as well. Below that, we have a couple layers for boosting the facial highlights on your subject to keep that attention on your subject. So the bottom one here is for lighter skin. If we expand this out where you can read the whole description in here. So this is for lighter skin, this one's for darker skin. And again, we'll take a look once we drop a subject in about how to use those. Below that, we just have some simple text here. So this is just our year. It's got some strokes and drop shadows applied to it. So text color can be changed, just like any text color up here. So if we wanted to make that blue, we could punch in a number, or we could select a blue, or we could come over here and sample a jersey color or something like that and pick a custom color. So no problem. To change the stroke lines, we just double click here on the stroke. And again, click the color here. And this could be changed, into any color for those stroke lines. We come down one, that's that outer stroke color. Again, could pick any color that we want and change that as well. Alright, so that's where we change those stroke line colors. So below that, we have our more text here. So this is our Wildcats. That's running across the bottom here. Again, that could be changed to anything you want just by double clicking and typing the new text in and clicking apply. Alright, so very simple to change the text. So we'll just back that up. There we go. Below that is kind of that swoosh, that mark that runs in behind the text here, just to give it some separation and some graphic detail there. And then clipped to that little swoosh graphic is our color. So this is just a simple color picker. So double click here and pick any solid color. Again, you could sample from a jersey or sample from the image, or you could come drag these around and select a color. You could type in a value, however you want to pick that color very easily. Below that is some more text. We have the subject's name currently in here, but that could be anything that you wanted. We have our subject group just below that, so that's where your subject's going to go. This is a nested subject group, so we'll talk about that and why that is in just a minute, but we'll come back to that. Below that, we have a couple groups. So this is our background blocks. So this is everything that contains all of those blocks of graphics there. And then we have our background stars. So we'll look at those individually too. But you'll take notice on the background blocks, we have a hue saturation adjustment layer clipped to this group. So it just affects the items in that group. So if you wanted to give things a color cast, you could simply just click on this, come up to your properties window up here, and then change your hue, saturation, and lightness sliders to whatever value. So if you wanted to give it more of a strong blue color cast, you could bring that up into the blues or the purples or anything, right? So there we have it set to give kind of a red color cast. Also, I have this blend mode set to hard light just because I like that kind of like punchy kind of color that it gives things there. You could always change this to something like color if you just wanted to give everything just more of a colorized look, and change the colors that way. And you could change the brightness values if you wanted. You could change the saturation levels. If you set this to normal, you would actually see even more effect from this lightness slider as you bring things in. So if you wanted to darken it down and change the look, you could absolutely do that as well. But again, it's just set to hard light by default, just because I think that is an interesting look. So let's switch this back over to hard light here and just kind of reset things. All right, so there's that. Now let's expand this group. Now you're going to see there's several different boxes here, and 3 of these have options in per sport. So this one here, this top middle one, this one bottom one over on the left side, and this bottom on the right side, these have different sport pre-made options in here. And then these others are just some basic graphics that are layered in. So let's look at this first box up here. I'm just going to scroll down, and because this is that box, this is that container right there. So we see we have like a baseball, softball option there. There's one for tennis. There's golf, volleyball, basketball, hockey, lacrosse, cheer, football, band. There's our track and cross country, swimming. There's one for water polo, there's archery, wrestling. There's a pickleball one, bowling, one for trap shooting, and one for soccer. So I tried to make this fairly all-inclusive to be used for, pretty much any of the sports that you would come across. So let's reset this back down to baseball. And then you're going to find the same thing. So right below that is our next set of sport option ones. So this is that bottom right block over here. And you can see each of these have different. So there's like a tennis court, a golf course, volleyball, kind of gymnasium. So each of these have options as well for the different sports, just to give it a little bit of character from each of the different sport options. So just clicking through so you can see these different options here. All right, so there's some of those. So let's turn these back off here. Oops, wrong way. All right, misclicked that. Let me get back to what we're doing. There we go. So get our baseball turned back on. And then the same thing, just to show you quick options over here. So tennis, golf, volleyball. Again, just some more like painted graphic options to lend towards the overall vibe of the sport that you're setting this for. All right, so that's the idea, is just to create a very graphic forward design here, just for something a little bit different than what you're used to seeing, something that stands out. All right, so let's turn these back off. All right, so we got everything set back to baseball. And then below this is just the individual boxes, and they have, again, a default graphic attached to them. You could always drop your own things in here. It could be maybe background pieces from their school gymnasium or field, or you could drop subjects in here and clip to these boxes. Whatever you want to get creative with, you could do that. All these are labeled and individually layered so that you have that flexibility. All right, so let's collapse this group back here. And then below that, these are just these background stars, just kind of hanging out back here to give some layer and some texture into this design. So again, these are just changed by double clicking on the color that's clipped to it. And you could either select a color, and you can see that changes the color up here, or you could pick a color. If you wanted a black, you could just pick a black and click OK. All right, so that's the different star layers there. You can move them around, duplicate them, anything that you would like. So let's collapse that layer. Then just below that, we have our background color cast. So if you wanted to throw some color over this kind of wrinkly background texture here, I just have this layer preset to multiply, just because I like the look of it, being able to see the texture through it. Again, it's just a simple color picker. So you could pick any of these colors. If you wanted to make it like this cool orange, you could certainly do that and click OK. Also, again, feel free to play around with blend modes. If you wanted to set this to a color blend mode or a soft light or hard light or something like that, you absolutely could. I just really like the look of multiply personally. But my favorite is just kind of the default look here, so I'm just going to leave it for that. And let's drop a subject in just to show how easily that's done. So what I'm going to do is just, I'm just going to select the subject group. I've got a subject right here, so I've just got our subject extracted. We're going to come over, drop them in here. And so what we want to do, you're going to see this is a nested subject group. So we're going to expand this group. So we have subject in this group, and then here's a secondary group. Place the subject in this group. So we actually want to drop this subject in that second group. So right here where it says subject here, we want to drop them. Now the reason this is nested, because we're doing two things to the subject. One, we are dropping them into a mask so that they fade out. As you can see how the legs fade out behind the graphic there. Alright, so that looks nice and clean. And the other thing was that we're adding a drop shadow behind the subject. Well, if we were to just drop them in the top group here, they would fade, but they wouldn't get the drop shadow applied. So that's why we do this. And also, if this drop shadow were just applied to a single group, you can see you still get the drop shadow from like the bottom of the legs and stuff that we don't want. We want that drop shadow to fade as well. So we have to apply that effect to the nested group in here. That's why it's set up this way. Alright, so all you need to know is put the subject in the second group and you're good to go. Right here where it says subject here, you want to drop them on top. But once your subject's in, we can Command or Control T and transform in size and do all the things. Or you could automate this. I think he looks good somewhere about like right there, and click Apply. So very easy to place your subject. You're going to see that takes no time at all. If we pop up to the facial highlights here, if you wanted to brighten the face just a little bit, we would just select the mask. We would grab a white brush. Let's bring that size down. And you could just paint over the face just to boost those highlights. And if it's too bright, just going to bring that opacity off a little bit. There we go. See that? Just to boost the face out so our attention is still going on to our subject. And then everything, you know, again, with the text, you could update your text here. So we could change this one. Let's put a new name on here and apply it. So that's no big deal. Again, that could be automated. And you could set your colors for your text and everything. So just the same as you would do with all the other designs. You could very easily do that with this one as well. But I just wanted to give you a brief overview of the layers that exist, the different sport options, how easy it is to drop your subject in and just go. Alright, so hopefully you get a lot of use out of this one, and I can't wait to see you on the next one. Thanks everyone.